welcome to episode 151 of Drew's Sports Crew here on this Sunday morning. Myself, Drew Scabrick, bringing you the news in the Wisconsin sports world as always. And look, this week is no different. A crazy one indeed. A lot of action-packed stuff going on in this one, especially on the basketball side. We get to hear about Reese Hoskins, which is good. That was a signing I was actually hoping the Brewers would make, and sure enough, they did. That was cool to see. We'll go through that in this episode as well. Packers also make not a surprising change at defensive coordinator. We'll go through Joe Barry's firing and just overall where they're going to be moving next here. And there's some names on there who you might be surprised, such as Brandon Staley of the Los Angeles Chargers, or former Los Angeles Chargers head coach, who was their defensive play caller also, and they gave up 63 points in his final game. So, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see, but otherwise, at True Sports Crew, Instagram, X, and TikTok, you know the drill. Whether it's like rankings, predictions, players of the week, etc. for Wisconsin sports, I got your back on that. Go check that out. But otherwise, scheduling this week, right? You're hearing me right now for episode 151. Otherwise, Journey Million's going to be back to Wednesdays around 5 o'clock with Zach Roush, Jared Vleski, and myself there on, again, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central is the plan. So those are the announcements. We'll get right into this episode. We'll start. I think we're going to start with the Packers, actually, just because I think it'll make more sense going. We got a lot of basketball to talk about, of course. So, yeah, it's Joe Barry firing. I would say it was not surprising. Was that after 3 seasons, I believe? Yeah, it was 3. And yeah, the defense was not great this year. Right? They were near in the bottom half of the league in nearly everything throughout the regular season. Excluding that, I mean, if you just the data, if you cherry pick it from not including like weeks, like the last 2 weeks of the year, the numbers get a lot worse. That's kind of where the Packers make the move, which makes sense. So where do they go next is the question. So there's some guys who you would think the Packers might be good fits on. I don't think Staley's the guy. He was the most notable who was announced on Friday. I would say who was going to get one. I think one guy is like Wink Martindale with the Giants. Comes to mind, like as a guy who they would definitely want. Who I guess he was there after the last 2 seasons with the Giants. I think with this defense being so young, I think this could be an attractive position for Martindale. And I don't really see why it wouldn't be, I'm just wondering from there, like there are, of course, some other guys. Jim Leonard was linked to the position. That's just a Wisconsin thing, I think. I mean, they already interviewed Brandon Staley too. Is also the other surprise there. But I don't know. There's a lot of ways they could go with it. I think the Packers are honestly going to go with someone who we are not too familiar with. Usually seems to be the case. Just as that's this position, it's either someone takes a lateral move or someone goes up. So it's going to be some quarterback or not quarterback coach. It'd be a DB coach or it'd be someone probably on the defensive side. Leslie Frazier's one who might fit in this. I mean, he was also he has head coaching experience. And Matt LaFleur did also include that he was, I mean, right, they need someone to call defensive plays. So, like, they need that level of leadership or something, too, I think is what's going to be important in a candidate. That's where I bet why they interviewed Staley is he does have head coaching experience, I think that's going to be someone they're going to look for, someone who's been in the role, someone who has experience, and not necessarily a younger guy. I think they're going to go with someone who has experience, kind of like how the Bucs did. I think that's kind of all we have from the Packers. Is there's not a whole lot of There's not a whole lot of information yet. I think in episode 152 I'll be able to say, okay, they interviewed this guy, this guy, this guy, and it looks like they're gonna go to second round interviews with this guy. I don't have a whole lot of information still, so it ends up being they could get this guy. They interviewed this guy just once though, and the interviews with some of them are gonna be even next week. And now Raheem Morris with Atlanta took their job, uh, or took Atlanta's coaching job. Who was with the Rams? Another defensive coordinator spot opened. There's some coordinator spots that are open. Vic Fangio already took the Philadelphia one. So like we're already losing coordinators. So like they might have to act swift here. Is my point. So that's gonna be it for the football talk. I know, kind of lame. Not much going on. Packers lost. I did see Jordan Love. I was at the Marquette game yesterday. Jordan Love was there. Like I saw him like from afar. I should add, not from like a close distance. So let's go over to the Bucks. Wow, just crazy week. So Adrian Griffin fired. They parted ways. It was something I had. You have the watch on, Apple Watch on, and I just like turned to it. I'm like, okay, wow, that must be a troll account. Okay. And then I get another, and I'm like, okay, so I go to X then, and I see what's going on, and I'm like, holy crap, he actually did get fired. I could not believe it. So that was shocking to see so soon. 43 games is all it took. Now the crazy thing is the Bucks are paying for 3 head coaches right now. So yeah, Milwaukee, they were at the time 30-13, and they were tied for the second best record in the league. But the problem was, the Bucks defense. It was in the 20s in the league. Defensive rating was not that great. Right when Lopez comes off the court, it was like a bottom 5 defense. That those were concerns that always were with this team, even in the Budenholzer days, but not to this extent per se. They usually like, I don't know if you all have noticed. So like, let's go to, I always think of the Jarrett Allen game. So it's the first game against Cleveland this year in Cleveland. The first one when they played in Cleveland. Jarrett Allen puts up like 30 plus points, and he scored like 12. He had like 10 field goals or something in the first quarter. It was like some insane game. And I just think go back to that game, like that never happened in the Mike Budenholzer era. A game like that would not have happened. So the fact that the Bucks were liable, or they had a weakness around the perimeter in those catch and shoot threes, and then they also ran into issues attacking the paint, right? Or defending the paint off the pick and roll. Like that's never been an issue. It's always been okay, they do pick and roll. Where does Lopez go on the screen, or where does how do they play the pick and roll? Now it's okay, we can't play the pick and roll, like even the roll part. We're struggling with the twos, and that's never been with Brook Lopez and Giannis. That's never been the problem. See, the Bucks were at the time 22nd in defensive rating, which you expect this team. I don't expect them to be number 1. You expect them to be probably in the top 12, maybe. I'd say top 12 is reasonable. This team right now has the best offensive rating, like, or second best this year, but it's like if without this year, it'd be like the best ever. So that's another thing to look at. Like, this team has been historically, historically good on offense. But just surprised to see Griffin, who again he had like no head coaching experience coming in. He was an NBA assistant coach for a long time, and with Toronto, you just thought maybe like I know hindsight, is always 2020 here in this case, but I was even listening to Horse press conference, and they said at the time, they're not gonna, my hindsight's 2020, but they said at the time they made the right hire, and they're not upset with their decision. I don't know. I do think that obviously at the time, if you say you made the right, I don't think it was. I know you can say that, but look, this team never needed a guy with 0 head coaching experience that probably needed some coaching, but from a team full of veterans. A team full of veterans did not need a young coach to coach. They needed a veteran coach who understood players. I think understood how the NBA landscape works, and overall, like, just how to let the players, how to put players who have so much experience in position to win. And that's why you go out and get Doc Rivers. You get a guy who's been around players now for over 20 years. He has 22, 23 years of head coaching experience. Took a job with ESPN this past year and then has been doing great on that. And then I actually listened. He was on Bill Simmons' podcast, The Ringer, a little bit ago, probably like a month ago now, talking about the problems with the Bucks, which was funny to think about. He's talking about what he would do if he was the coach to fix the Bucks before this was even a whole thing. I did see something too that he had conversations with the Bucks in early December, is what it's reported as. So there was initial conversations already in early December, and that so think about like coming in, that was like a little over 2 months of the season gone through. I think a good warning sign. I the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel did a great job of reporting about the whole Terry Stotts situation at the start of the year. So again, he was with Dame over in Portland for a bit there, and he's a lot of head coach experience. And then he left the staff right before the season opener. So it's interesting to see, like, there's obviously something up there. I don't know. I think that's a huge problem. But yeah, Doc Rivers is back. That's what happens, when Griffin they move on from him. They had it right away. I mean, like right away, it was okay. The Bucks are gonna get Doc Rivers. They'll make it official in the upcoming days. Sure enough, they did. Press conference was held yesterday. That was cool to see. He was at the Marquette game again. That was awesome. That was him, Jordan Love. Those were like the top two guys there. There's some other Marquette guys like Wesley Matthews was there. Of course, he was getting his number retired, but it was just a good day for a Marquette game. Brian Anderson was there too with the Brewers, and now TNT as well. Yes. So yeah, next up, Doc Rivers is who got a big contract. What was it, like 4 years? He's getting double digit dollars annually, $1 million. So it's going to be good payday for him, but also a good experience, right? Coming into the season. That was a lot of his press conference too. I felt was, this, he's never done this before, right? Right. He's never been in a spot like this. This is a new opportunity for him because although he's coached for 20 plus years, he's never took over a team mid season. And this is a new challenge, right? He only does have one NBA champion. Like a lot of Doc Rivers, for those who don't know, he's known, unfortunately, for not winning playoff games, for his teams being historically good regular season teams and then failing to capitalize in the playoffs. He has won NBA Finals championship in 2008 with the Celtics, right? But otherwise, it's been a lot of early exits. It's been a lot of disappointment. For example, with the Clippers back in the day, I'm not even back like 10 years ago, right? He took it then, and he was even with Philly there for some time. That never worked out. And now they moved on from him with Nick Nurse. Look, it's going to be. I do wish the Bucks hired Nick Nurse in the offseason. That was the guy who I wanted. And I think that would have been they need a veteran coach. That was all they need. And it shows me that they had no issue taking a guy from Toronto as they took his top assistant. But definitely looking back, this veteran team needed a veteran coach at the end of the day. Let's talk about how the Bucks performed this past week too. I think that was a telling tale as well. And look, this week overall, not a bad week for the Bucks by any means. It was actually solid, no complaints. But after another ugly Detroit win, they beat Detroit both games as expected, but both were close. Both were annoyingly close. Right, we talked about Saturday's win already, where Dame had 45 last Saturday. I'm talking about. Then on Monday, Bucks only win by 9. Giannis puts up another triple double, of course, 31, 17, 10. And then Wednesday, I go to the game. I get my Dame timepiece. It's phenomenal. What a great giveaway. Crazy how Portland never did anything like that. 126-116 is the win. They were in control almost all the whole game. So scoring there is a little bit closer than it really was. Giannis with another triple double has more. I think it's most triple doubles in a season for his career now. He is 35, 18, 10. They play the Bucks the Bucks play that on Friday. It was an offensive. It's a game where the offense struggled, right? The offense was consistently putting up over 120 points. Only put up 100 on Friday. They lose 112-100. Giannis with 22 and 9. Then New Orleans. It's the Brook Lopez game on Saturday. where they put up 141 points, 141, 117. They cruised to victory with 24-point victory. And yeah, I want to talk about last night's game because I think last night was the most like in terms. Obviously the game I was at was fun, but in terms of fun, like the plus minuses were insane. The Joe Prunty era ends with another win. Gotta love the guy. But yeah, Giannis only needs 29 minutes, puts up 30 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, plus 23 plus minus. Brook Lopez, arguably one of his best games of the season, 24 points, 3 rebounds. Didn't need to do much, 1 steal, 8 for 11 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3. Dame was 7 for 14 with 26 points. And then off the bench, of course, Bobby Portis got into it 9 for 15 with 7 boards, had 20 points. He did have foul out though. But it was nice. Everybody got in. Some Andre Jackson got minutes finally. That was the story this week with Joe Prunty taking over those first 2 games. He played 0 minutes. Gets in this one for 17, which is good to see. Campaign played 18 minutes. Look, the story behind this team, they're a guard. They need a veteran guard on this team that is better than Campaign. Unfortunately, Campaign's not the answer, I feel. I know he had a nice game tonight, but again, he's not the guy they need. They need someone who can make an impact defensively. I always say Alex Caruso is always the one people they always say. I think he fits it best. Matisse Thybulle is kind of a guy like that, but more on the defensive side, provides less offensively. They just need someone who can really bolster that bench unit. I feel so. We need someone like that right now. There's some other guys who would fit this team, but I need to wait more until like the trade deadline until we can really see who's up for grabs. Who can the Packers look, or not Packers really? Who can the Bucks look at to capitalize and get better? Because what we've seen with John Horst over this time has been, always looking to get better, which is what you want out of a GM, especially in the game of basketball. And that's what we've seen. We've seen Horst go make strategic opportunities, take opportunities that feel risky, but look, it's to make the team better. And making a quick change of head coach is just that. I mean, they think, and Horst always he's mentioned this. We felt we have an opportunity to make this team even better, and that's what we're going to do. That's what he said. He said the same thing, cut and paste for the Damian Lillard trade, which he's right. It was an opportunity they felt to make this team better, as many others felt, and they took the opportunity, and Dame's done great. Holiday, and not to compare the two, we still love Drew Holiday, but he definitely hasn't played as much or played as well as he was last year or with his time in the Milwaukee Bucks. Definitely time has been catching up to him, I feel. But let's go through the Bucks schedule this week. I'll have the Bucks Prediction Challenge out tomorrow. And this week we see Doc Rivers' coaching debut tomorrow night, 8 p.m. in Denver. They go. That's going to be a tough one, but it's cool. It's Doc Rivers' return to coaching. Excited for that game. Wednesday, ESPN, they gave us the late game. I know. We got a West Coast road trip, which means some late games. Wednesday, 9 o'clock, ESPN against Portland. The Bucks better win that game by 20 points. Saturday night, and then they get 2 days off. Saturday night, Saturday, February 3rd, they play at Dallas. That'll be a fun one. I'm going to be watching that. And then one of those annoying back-to-backs from Saturday to Sunday, they play at Utah at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. I might be recording before that game, so that's unfortunate. I won't be able to talk about that one, but it'll make more sense, I feel. But yeah, the schedule's getting fun. It's going to be a 5-game West Coast road trip where they go Denver to Portland, Portland to Dallas, Dallas to Utah, Utah to Phoenix. And then they come back home to play Minnesota. So it's a tough stretch coming up. There's a 6-game stretch there. If the Bucks go 3-3, 4-2 in that stretch, you'll be happy. I think that's how it is. Even with like Portland, and there should be a win. Utah should be a win, right? Those two right away. But then those other ones are going to be some tough games coming up. So looking forward to it. Again, that's what we're looking at the Bucks schedule. Let's go over to baseball here before we wrap up. Look, the Milwaukee Brewers made the move we all wanted. Rhys Hoskins, welcome to the Milwaukee Brewers. They get their first baseman. This is arguably the best first baseman since Prince Fielder. Like coming in, like on a projection basis, it could be. which is crazy to think about. I don't know. That was just the initial thought that hit me. 2-year, $34 million contract with Milwaukee. So it's a mutual option in 20, I believe it's so like it could be 2026, but he could also opt out after year one. So the thing is if he has a big year, he's gonna opt out. It's only $12 million they're actually paying him this year, but then they opt out. Then if that there's $18 million there, and then there's a mutual option in 2026 for 18 million. Mutual options really never work because if the player has a big season, they're gonna opt out. If they don't have a great season, the team's gonna opt out. So it's always it never works. So I treat this like a 1-year deal, honestly. 2025, if he plays great, he's gonna opt out. If he doesn't, he's gonna stick around, is what we're gonna see. But yeah, Reese Hoskins is a perfect fit for this team. He tore his ACL last year, which is unfortunate, but coming back though, this is gonna be a good opportunity for him to have a big year and get that payday, get that long-term deal he wants. On the Brewers side, though, like this team is really filling up now, right? Like they got Austin Nola, they got Owen Miller. We know Owen Miller, but they have Eric Haas, who was with Detroit, who's like a lefty specialist, and he's a catcher, so he hits lefties well, is what I'm saying. Catcher slash corner outfielder. This team has a focus. I feel on a lot of. It's the classic team, a lot of power. Like they need to hit home runs, which is good. We like teams like this. Right now, Hoskins is projected for 29 home runs, 82 or 87 RBIs. He's projected to provide a lot of offensive value. They are concerned with his defense. When I say they are, I'm talking about FanGraphs. His defensive WAR is pretty bad. So his offensive WAR, he looks to be the third best player on the team behind Yelich and Contreras. I think that's a fair thing. He could honestly have a better year than Contreras. So we'll see. Or not Contreras, Adames, my bad. I think Contreras, Yelich are going to be the top two guys offensively, and then I think you throw Hoskins right there. And when Hoskins gets hot, that's where it's going to be big for them. He actually doesn't strike out too much for a power hitter. They project him for a 26% strikeout rate, which is somewhat high, but not as high as some other guys. So you can definitely it's doable. That will work. And then throw in they needed one out of like the three like incoming guys or younger guys to have like a big year, like not like a big year, but like they exceed expectations. And I think you get that out of either like is Garrett Mitchell going to have a big year here after that was going to be like his second full season kind of thing. It's kind of weird how his times came out with that shoulder injury, so not even really his second full season. But like Tyler Black, they need something out of him, or like Sal Frelick, a guy like those guys. They need some value out of. This team has a lot more depth though than years prior. Like I don't know. I think that Eric Haas signing is actually going to be nice because now they have a catcher who can especially platoon. Obviously Contreras hits lefties fine, but they have some options now, especially at DH for lefties. Not Mike Brosseau. In years past, it feels like there's an upgrade here, and that's what the Brewers did. But then they also get Christian Arroyo, who's also a guy who they got on a minor league contract, 1 year, $1.5 million, second baseman. This is going to be a great move for the Brewers, as I think of right away with Bryce Terang. This is a good platoon option. Arroyo's a right-handed hitter who, again, has had big numbers before. He's gone hot stretches with Boston before. And if you can ride the hot hand, he could be a great play. But then he also provides that depth of the second base with Terang. If Terang's not hitting well or whatnot, you could put Arroyo in there for a couple days. I think both those signings reflect great depth for the Brewers, and I think both are going to have some nice impact for this squad coming in. And I got Arroyo. I don't think he's in on the projections yet. No, it doesn't look like he is, but like Eric Haas, for example, is. He's only projected 141 at bats, but projected 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. It's like, okay, we'll take it. Jackson Chourio is projected for 25 steals. I want to talk about Chourio's projections. 17 homers, 66 RBIs, 25 steals. So that's going to be that's cool to think about. Like he could have that kind of impact for the squad this year. Definitely The walk rate's going to be something to monitor. He didn't walk a lot in the minors, but they project him for a 6% walk rate, which would be by far the lowest of the team, I'd say. Keep in mind Yelich's is around they project for 13%, but yeah, 10 to 15%. So like that's a pretty big difference. But I think Chorio too is going to be cut down. It's the classic rookie thing: cut down strikeouts, increase walks, and that usually leads to good numbers, right? I think that's kind of going to be what we're looking at with this Brewers team. But I look forward to previewing this more as we get closer. Just wanted to talk about the Hoskins signing. That's an impact bat they got, and the Arroyo signing is great for the depth here at second base. He's also could play other spots in the middle infield, so it's going to be a good depth piece coming for the season. And pitchers and catchers report here in a couple of weeks, so we're getting there. We are almost there, and that's all I got here on episode 151. Again, at Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up here for myself, Drew Skyberg, here on this Sunday morning. Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.